This series is about understanding the reasons why people cheat and how to prevent it. It's not about condemning the act of cheating, it's about understanding it. This is because not all cheating is the same. Yes, some cheat because they're selfish and have absolutely no moral compass whatsoever, while others cheat because their moral compass is telling them to stay in a relationship for altruistic reasons. For example, the emotional or financial welfare of children or elderly parents. Yet doing so often means enduring years or even decades of silent suffering. So I am not taking sides on this issue. I am not saying what a cheater is doing is right or wrong, because each situation is different and I don't have to walk in their shoes or their partners. I am simply presenting a series on understanding, as sensitive as the subject is for many. Thanks for joining me. Let's talk about the second reason why someone might have unmet emotional needs that cause them to cheat: outright selfishness. A lot of people get into relationships because they're looking for someone to meet their needs. This is not very healthy. A healthy relationship would involve two people who are trying to meet each other's needs according to their values, not prescribing or projecting your values onto another. And if your relationship, if your sexual relationship is all about your personal preferences with disregard to theirs, well, stay single, please. Because a relationship is not all about you. And if you think it is, then please do the world a favor and stay single. I remember back in my days when I used to go to church a lot, there were some preachers who said, marriage is a ministry. It is a service to another. And so if you don't want to be in service to another person, do not get married. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. If it's about you, then just keep it all about you. But when you start bringing other people into the equation, you have to consider them. Like I've said before, I'm very fond of the quote from Teal Swan that love is taking another person's best interests as your own. And if you're not willing to do that, you probably should not be in a relationship. Be in a marriage, a marriage to yourself. Because nobody gets married for the purpose of getting starved out sexually. Nobody. Yet we see this happen all the time. Never underestimate the amount of psychological damage that you can do to another person by denying or shaming them about their sexual needs. Let me give you an example. A man I knew who had been married for 27 years. Well, he had been married to a woman who would not give him oral sex. 27 years of this. I said to him, when he told me about this after his divorce, this is a big reason why he divorced her. I said, why did you even marry her in the first place, knowing this? And his answer was, well, at the time, I didn't think it was a big deal. Oh, I've heard this before. I have heard this before, okay? He said the reason he didn't think it was a big deal was because the sex was so great between them in other ways. But then after how many decades of this, he realized he was wrong. He really wanted it. But she told him up front, and he agreed to it. And as the years of frustration wore on and on and on, he tried to address it. She refused to change. And after all, she told him, right? He knew what he was getting into. He made an agreement, apparently, that he couldn't live out. So her unwillingness to accommodate him opened his eyes to a growing awareness of women who would accommodate him. In fact, he encountered women who would offer him oral sex while he was married. Now imagine how hard it was for him to turn that down. Never again, he said. I thought it wasn't important. It is. Never again will I marry someone like that. The lesson here is that it's not just about the sexual act, okay? It is the meaning behind the sexual act. What does it mean to that person? And for her, not performing oral sex was about her. It was about maintaining her comfort zone at his cost. It was about her prescribing her values onto him based on her personal preferences. What made her feel good and comfortable. She was not coming from a heart space of understanding his needs and wants and trying to meet them. This is not love. This is selfishness. And as the years went on, her indifference to his sexual frustration became glaringly obvious to such an extent that he did eventually cheat on her with a woman who gave him what he wanted, despite the fact that he felt very guilt-ridden about it. And the marriage did eventually end in divorce. To watch the next video in the series, click here. And if you missed the last video in the series, click here. And until next time, thanks for watching, sharing, liking, commenting, and subscribing.